Welcome to Pedal Guys.
Episode
5.
Bam.
We are on episode 5, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. We're still enjoying making these videos for you. We hope you enjoy watching them as much as we enjoy making them.
Absolutely. And if you have any content you'd like us to cover, please let us know.
Definitely. Put those in the comments. So today we're talking about a couple pedals from a company called Fairfield Circuitry. These guys are out of Hull, Quebec, a Canadian company. They make really discrete circuits, hand-wired, very unique. They look very basic. They're stamped metal on the top. You can get in there, Sam. They basically just look like kind of some thing that you'd find in a garage sale or something that somebody put together on their own home electronics bench.
But
they sound phenomenal.
Amazing.
So I kind of encountered these guys through a few other YouTube channels. A lot of ambient channels have kind of picked up on some of their equipment recently.
But they've been around for a while.
They have, yeah. I think I
remember seeing their stuff like, I don't know, like 2011. Like when I first started watching, Andy demos.
Yes.
When it was still Pro Guitar Shop, I feel
Definitely.
like I remember seeing Fairfield stuff. So they've been out there for a while.
Definitely. And I think the Canadian market's been huge in kind of tapping into the American pedal market.
Yeah.
There's an advantage of being on this side of the pond. We get a lot of the same stuff that Andy would get because I think he was in Portland, right? So
That's right.
Seattle.
Yep.
So they're kind of close. But they really know what they're doing. And as Sam and I talked about on the channel before, the less things you have in the circuit, kind of the more analog it is, the more your components matter. Right? So one of the things about Fairfield that's great is they use a lot of studio quality equipment, especially on the inside and studio quality parts.
Good components, yeah. Yeah,
components. Every single pedal that I have from them has a J-Fed boost built into it, okay? Right. So literally every single one. From playing around with settings in Logic is actually how I found out that I really liked the J-Fed sound.
No kidding.
And I was like, oh, this is a very clean, very tight, and even the way that it just boosts the sound without coloring it and giving it more of a kind of a volume rather than just making it louder is a really nice quality of it. So that's why I picked it up, and I've been using it in these pedals specifically. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you guys a quick example of what this sounds like. So first I'm going to run you through a pedal called the Accountant. Okay? So the Accountant I have basically first in my chain. It's a compressor, but it also has a pad and a boost built into it. So what is that? So coming from my volume pedal, just from the guitar, or from my tuner pedal, just from the guitar, right into that compression. Not only am I able to control the overall volume of the pedal with that pad on the right-hand side, but I'm able to control the level of compression and the volume independently. So a lot of compression pedals have them all kind of blended together. They might have a mix knob, something like that. But on the Accountant specifically, you set the kind of incoming input volume, you set the compression, and then the volume leaving the pedal. That's the kind of order it's set up in. So that gives you kind of a cleaner, tighter sound.
Very cool.
The way I have it set right now is on the medium buffer setting. So, if you have a very loud instrument, I would go up to 2 on that right-hand side. Where the guitar is, these are kind of hot pickups, so I do have it kind of, I have it set in the middle. But then the compression on the left-hand side is a very light compression. Can get very heavy. You can get some studio-grade compression going on. And then I have it slightly boosted above, kind of above your unity gain level there. So I'm just going to give you an example of what it sounds like without the compressor, and then I'm going to turn it around and I'll give you an example. We'll play some basic chords. And it would help if you had the volume knob up on the guitar. So as you can see, it adds a bit more sparkle to it, a bit more clarity.
A little bit of changes the attack.
Changes the attack for sure. If I
gives kind of a spankiness.
Let's give you. I'm not playing this in the correct key, but I just want to play it a little bit lower so we can just see it for the sound. adds a bit more of, you can hear more of the pick attack, and so it becomes clear, a little bit more rhythmic, but tighter.
Right.
But very, very much tighter. The other thing I really like about it, it really eliminates the need to have a boost pedal separate from your compressor. I know that a lot of compressor pedals have a volume knob built into it, but really having something that's post the main circuit and being able just to boost the compressed signal independently, I think is an interesting way of designing a pedal, and that's why I got this specific one from Fairfield. So if you're looking for a compressor that's a small footprint, but you can get a very clear boost function and a very tight kind of compression, this is really a place to go for that.
And I got to be honest, it's one of the best compression pedals I've ever heard.
It's so clear, and you could use it probably on vocals, like another track. You just need a converter cable for it, you know.
The sparkle really speaks to me, and the way, and because of that FET circuit, the way that it's boosting the signal, like you said, the character of that is really pleasing to my ears. It just sounds really good.
Yes.
Really present, really articulate.
Yeah.
It has a lot of punch.
Yeah, and you can play with it too. So, you know, let me give you a few more chords, and I'm going to play with the tone knob a little bit on the guitar.
Sure.
And I'll show you how it kind of picks the... So that's a little bit just of kind of how the tone interacts with it. You also, if you're playing with dirt pedals, I kind of wanted to introduce this because, as we all know on the show, we love fuzz.
Yes, we do.
So it's not super common that a lot of fuzz players will necessarily put compression in front of fuzz. A lot of fuzzes and those kind of level of distortions will naturally compress on their own, depending on what they're doing to the signal and kind of how you have it EQ'd. But I have the Brown Amplification T4 on my board. That's the big gray one. And it's a Big Muff clone. And that guy, you can really hear the difference when, with compression on, with compression off. And it definitely gives you two different textures. So something I maybe use more for a lead tone, and then something I maybe use more for a rhythm tone.
Sure.
So I'm going to give you guys an example. I'm going to turn the compression off, and then we're going to turn the pedal on. So the fuzz is now on. So we're going to play just kind of like a simple riff. Give you guys something like this. Some of the compression on this, you'll see the difference. Tightens up the sound, right? Definitely gives you a different texture.
Right, with the Smashing Pumpkins tune,
Yeah.
What I really noticed is that the compressor, obviously, it's evening out the strings, and the attack of the strings is making them kind of all more equal. So what happened on the Smashing Pumpkin song is that the low droning note was more present. So then it made the whole riff it married the riff together. To me, when you turn the compression on, I was like, oh, there's that sound.
The extra bit, right?
That was the missing link that made that sound like pretty close to the recording. I was like, okay, that's it.
And it makes it pop, right?
It made it pop.
And I think, the Smashing Pumpkins are up there for a couple, like one of my favorite bands, and especially as a band that uses fuzz really 100%. Heavily. But you have to understand too that like a lot of the sounds you're hearing on the album it's recorded fuzz, right?
Right.
So if you're trying to get I think a lot of online discussion has been around recorded guitar tone versus live guitar tone, right?
Two different animals.
And I think if you're really trying to nail an album sound, compression is actually a very good place to start because 100%. We're so used to hearing it and everything that that's instantly going to connect you to.
I forget who said this, but some producer is quoted as saying that compression is the sound of rock and roll.
For sure.
It is so, for anyone that, if you haven't dove into the realms of recording, you're going to learn pretty quick that everything is so compressed.
It's so compressed.
In rock and roll and pop music and metal music, and there's very few genres that don't use tons of compression.
Absolutely.
And that is recorded modern music. That it is compression.
It is. It really is. And especially funk players and things like that. It's really that if you want to nail, especially like with a Strat or something, putting compression on the front of it is going to nail that sound every single time. If you really want that kind of like chicky, like the let's see.
How the attack pops is really nice.
It's really nice. And now we're also in the center position of a Jazzmaster, so that's why you're getting a little bit more of that clarity and that pluckiness. But even if I put it on the neck pickup, so that was both of them, even if I put it on the neck pickup, you still get really clear, and then you go back to so if you're playing that like a funky rhythm bit and you want to go back into like a verse or something like that, it's a little bit softer, you can do that just by hitting your pickups. Good stuff, man. So we're starting with the accountant.
Okay.
I want to go to the hors d'oeuvres. So the Fairfield hors d'oeuvre is relatively new, and what this guy is also a JFET based, basically parallel loop and feedback loop. Okay.
Whoa.
So what that means is it's got a few levels. So I'm going to kind of break down the way that I have it set up.
Okay.
And we can talk about maybe some of the other ways you could use something like this. So the amp that we're using, the Quilter Overdrive 200, this guy has an effects loop built into it. So on my board, I have my time-based effects and my modulation all running through the effects loop. Well, what is an effects loop? An effects loop is just a function of the amp that allows you to insert certain effects after the preamps and the EQ section and before the power amp, so that essentially you can layer these effects over even a distorted signal and they'll still come out much cleaner. Something that a lot of studio guys I think figured out, but it's now becoming more of a standard feature in amps, right?
Right.
And what the hors d'oeuvres allows me to do is it allows me to take that a step further. So what I have on the pedal itself is on the dry channel on the right hand side, you can see I have the effects loop running in and then the effects loop running out. So that's my my unaffected signal basically. And that knob on there will dictate the level of that signal, right? So you can boost it. I think about 2 o'clock on the dial is about unity gain, just for studio people. And then you can even boost it if you want to. Then I have all the quotes wet effects, so the reverb, the delay, the tremolo, the chorus, all in the wet side of it. And I can also EQ that separately, so I can change the volume of it in relation to the volume of that clean signal coming from the right hand side, right? you can actually reverse the polarity of it, so you can change the direction of the way it's feeding back if you want to, or the way that it's interacting. It doesn't result in kind of a volume cut unless you're doing very specific things with it.
Right.
We'll test it out. But then the kind of magic of this pedal specifically is that it has a feed, what they call a feed knob. And what this does is it sends the input of the wet side back into the input of the wet side. So basically you can create feedback and noise just by turning up this knob.
Right.
And you can do that with anything. I happen to have my modulation and my delay effects through it. But you could do things like putting a fuzz in that side and then having another overdrive alongside it, turning up the feedback knob and feeding the fuzz back into the overdrive.
Right.
A lot of really cool applications. The way I have it set up, we're just going to be feeding back the modulation, the delay, the reverb effects into themselves.
Into itself, yeah.
And then you'll hear that layered over whatever guitar sound we're playing, right?
Super cool.
So let me give you a quick demonstration. So I'm just going to play you some clean over this. And we do a little bit of reverb on too, just to do that. And then I'm going to change the reverb, and I'm going to play something heavy so you see how it actually separates. So
Great.
we're going to go to a longer reverb, and then we're going to go to, I'm going to put a little bit of overdrive on there. Layering over it. Now, I'm going to take my feedback knob right over here, and I'm going to put that up right around here, and we'll see how that sounds. Get kind of noisy with it, right?
Very cool. On what I was noticing on the more subtle settings of it feeding back on itself, it was just emphasizing the shimmer you have going. It was emphasizing because it's obviously it's feeding back a little bit. Those sparkly artifacts were starting to get more present in the mix.
Definitely.
And then of course once you start to really go up there, then it's all
it gets crazy.
Madness.
You can really do it. And I just looped it really quick through the tensor just to give you an example so you can hear it. And that's the kind of cool thing is what I like doing is I like hitting that loop, letting it go, and then literally just playing with the feedback knob until it sounds cool. Yeah. Now, you can also do things like if you put the I'll give you a quick example. We'll see what the delay sounds like through it really quick, all right? I'm going to actually turn up the feed knob a little bit just to get started.
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll increase it as it goes. as you can kind of tell, when you turn it up a little bit, it adds like a richness to it.
Yeah.
Right? So, and putting the delay in there, it's going to keep multiplying the delay more and more.
Right. It's almost like an intensity knob.
Yeah.
While it's on the subtler side, you know, it's just making the way that you're using it right now. It's making those time-based effects just more intense.
Yes.
And then until it starts to feed back on itself.
But that's a really great way of describing that, is that it really does add that intensity, and especially if you really want to. I really believe in playing with dynamics.
Yes.
So that is going to give you, especially in a live performance setting, where if you really want to get down on like one knee and like play with knobs,
right.
like it's a really cool like hands-on piece that you can add to your pedal board. Doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Plus, the dry side I've noticed since I've been using it, even just having it boosting a little bit, it makes the guitar signal a lot cleaner. So just even running your effects loop through basically like a JFET boost will give you a lot more of a clean signal to play with.
Right.
So that's just a kind of a minor advantage. But if you buy pedals with the right parts in it, you're going to get, even just baseline, you're going to get a little bit of an improvement over the average.
Absolutely. You know? You can tell, I mean, there are certain pedals that, you know, because of the way they're built, because of the quality of the components, that even when they're off, you know, if it's a buffered pedal, like even when it's off, it's making your signal sound better.
Definitely.
And those are kind of, for me, those are like the gold standard. That's what you really want on your board, is the pedals that are enhancing your sound and not detracting.
Absolutely.
Because there are, unfortunately, many lesser pedals that our tone sucks.
They are.
That's no bueno.
And you know what? I would bet a lot of them too. It's either the buffer or the volume capabilities, right?
Yep.
And the ability to actually boost it either in parallel or series with your signal. So.
And like we said earlier, low quality components too
it can sync it. You know, digital components are good, but like sometimes you can get a bad batch, a mismatch, and some chips or something. So definitely. Which is why moving on to, that's a great segue, because the kind of chips and things that you use, especially in modulation and in analog modulation, is really important. And the last pedal we're going to feature on the show today is called the Shallow Water. So this is, of course, from Fairfield Circuitry. And the Shallow Water they call it a K-field modulator, okay? And what a K-field is basically, it's a measurement of chaos in a given field in simulation mathematics.
Oh, cool.
No idea what that means. I'm
Really
not
cool.
a mathematician. It sounds cool. I'd love to understand more. However, basically it just means that it's able to randomly generate a random point in any given field. And what that turns out in a modulation pedal is to give you kind of a random, almost a vinyl sounding skipping modulation, or a lo-fi modulation.
Very cool.
Right? And you know also that from any of these modulation pedals, it does have a little bit of a delay built into it, right?
Yeah.
So all of this is analog. It does also have a JFET boost, again.
Nice.
So, and the way that Fairfield orders its circuits is so important because it happens at the end. So you can boost the overall signal. And if it's in the effects loop, you can boost the volume of your effects loop too. So it's a kind of multi-purpose pedal.
Very cool.
I've seen on other forums people compared it to the warped vinyl from Chase Bliss.
Oh, okay.
And some of those other kind of really like kind of wonky modulation sounds. So we're going to give you a little taste of it right here. We have it blended in. But this is kind of a more wild setting, and then we can tune in something different. We'll play with some knobs, all right? So we'll give you...
So let's put the delay and verb on something more subtle.
Yeah, we're going to take the delay off, actually, and then the reverb is going to be on here. Right. Okay. All right, so we'll give you the clean again. All right. And then we're going to go...
Shallow water.
Shallow waters. Let's do this. you can hear kind of the vibrato going through. You can hear the little bit of a volume boost.
And the randomness factor, it sort of will peak at these certain points in your playing, and it almost, to me, it sounds like a stutter of like an old cassette tape or something.
Yes.
And I think the name Shallow Water is so appropriate because it really has this very aqueous, like you're floating on the water vibe.
And how water's kind of random.
Right,
sort of
and
the
random
feeling, right?
That randomness is the key.
Well, let's take a quick look at this. I'm gonna turn some knobs real quick. So, I'm gonna turn the filter down kind of the middle a little bit. We're gonna keep a lot of these things the same way, but I'm gonna turn the rate down to about halfway. Turn the damper all the way off for now, or mostly off. Okay, put that there, and then pull back the. All right, so we're taking a look at some of the more subtle settings on the Shallow Water. So we gave you kind of the wild vibrato setting, and now we're going to give you a little bit more of a subtle setting on it. Just something so you can see what a more like subtle texture you can use with chords. So you can get that real liquidy kind of texture.
Yeah, it has almost like a light shimmering on the water.
Quality. Yeah, it enhances it. It maybe won't get in the way too much, but it will definitely give you a little bit of texture for chords.
Yeah, that's like a clean enhancer right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you can go. So if we're gonna take it, we're gonna really kind of open this thing up. I'm gonna turn the rate up a lot. We're gonna turn the low pass, the filter, all the way up.
Yep.
The damper, this will put different rates between the way that it modulates. I kind of keep it off.
Okay.
Because it gets wilder if you keep it lower. So I just kind of like it kind of crazy. So I'm going to give you one here. Hear that it's
very musical though.
Very musical, I think.
Usable, yeah.
So let's do this. So we're gonna pull back again on the filter a little bit. I'm gonna turn the rate down to give it less of that kind of weird quality, but we're gonna turn the depth up really loud.
Okay.
And you're gonna hear the random really come through.
Okay,
this, okay?
Nice.
dips like
Yes,
in and
yes.
out of it, and like kind of the skips in it.
Oh.
And kind of the cool thing is it'll never sound the same way twice,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because it's very... Yeah, so it's really interesting.
So
You can kind of
cool.
like find those little dips, but it's going to be random pretty much every time, so it's hard to build a thing
I
of it.
love this pedal.
So it can go all sorts of places. Really flexible. Really flexible.
Very cool. It's so lush sounding.
Definitely.
It's such a unique take on sort of chorus vibrato modulation.
Well, and you know I was looking too, because I had the Jam Ripley Fall before,
Yes.
and that was my chorus vibrato pedal,
Great
because
pedal.
the Jam Waterfall is one of the best analog chorus pedals I have ever heard.
Yeah.
Hands down. Just for the sound that it does. It does the rack mount 80s lush sound really, really well. Because the Pigtronics Quantum is my other favorite.
Yes,
That's one you
yes.
have. But yeah, it just, there's kind of like a warmth that it adds to it. It's just different. You know?
Yeah, well, to me, what I really love about this is it's not emulating anything else.
True.
It's just a completely unique circuit that's really lush. I love the random. It's special. It's a special pedal.
And just the boost function, the ability to kind of control
Right.
those stutters in relation to things. Yeah, it's one of those, if you're looking for, I think there should be a pedal on your board that scares you, kind of, right?
Yes.
Like, I think everybody's
I
got to
love
have
that. I love
one
that.
pedal on
Yes,
there.
yes.
And for me, that's this one, because it's like,
Cool.
I like to use it as textures because you never know what you're going to get. It always sounds good, but it's like, how can you manipulate it to fit in with what you're using? And that's kind of the juice for me.
Very
you know?
nice.
So do we want to do...
Let's try all of them, right?
Yeah, so
all of
let's...
them together.
So all of them together. So let's do. We'll put a little bit of just. Let's put a little delay, and we'll find something here. Why don't we do?
All right.
Going out on that note, that's going to be it for this week, guys. Thanks for checking out Fairfield Circuitry.
Please
with
go check out their
us.
stuff online.
Check out, they have a fantastic website. They've got a few U.S. dealers. They've got obviously a lot of Canadian dealers and overseas. So check their Reverb website.
And they have several other pedals as well.
Yes.
8 total, you said?
Oh, yeah. They have some fuzz and some overdrive options that are really, really cool sounding. So definitely check those out.
Right. And subscribe.
Like,
Give
subscribe.
us a
If you guys have anything you want to see on here, please, again, put it in the comments. We read all these, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch our videos.
Oh my god. Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
All right. Take care, guys.